Madam Speaker, I rise today to pay tribute to the courage and conviction of three young men, Andrew Goodman, James Chaney, and Michael Schwerner. On June 21, 1964, they gave their lives in the struggle for voting rights in America. There was a time just 44 years ago when it was almost impossible in the American South for people of color to register and vote. Then I was 24 years old and the chair of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, better known as SNCC. I traveled around the country encouraging young people to come to Mississippi to get involved with the Freedom Summer, the summer of 1964. At that time, the state of Mississippi had a black population of voting age of more than 450,000, but only about 18,000 blacks were registered to vote. It was dangerous, very dangerous, for those of us who believe that everyone should have the right to vote. But in spite of the risk, there were people, young and old, black and white, rich and poor, people like Andrew Goodman, James Chaney, and Michael Schwerner, who put aside the comfort of their own lives to make sure that every citizen had free and fair access to the ballot, not only in Mississippi, but throughout America. Michael Schwerner was a 24-year-old white man from Brooklyn, New York, was already a participant in the movement. Andrew Goodman was also white, was 21-year-old, a student at Queen College in New York. James Chaney was a 21-year-old African-American man from Meridian, Mississippi, who decided to take a stand for justice in his own community, in his own state. On the morning of June 21, 1964, these three young men drove to Lawndale, Mississippi to investigate the burning of an African-American church. On their way back, they were arrested, at least detained by the sheriff and taken to jail in Philadelphia, Mississippi. That same evening, they were released from the jail by the sheriff and turned over to the Klan. They were beaten, shot, and killed. Their burnt blue Ford station wagon was pulled from a creek just 2 days later. I joined the search for them that night with a very heavy heart. Their bodies were found a few weeks later, about 6 weeks later, on August 4, 1964, buried under a mound of dirt. Madam Speaker, I share this story today so that members of Congress will realize that the struggle for civil rights has been a long, hard road, littered by the battered and broken bodies of countless men and women who paid the ultimate price for a precious right, the right to vote, the right to participate in the democratic process. Andrew Goodman, James Chaney, and Michael Schwerner did not die in Europe. They did not die in Asia or in Africa. They did not die in Central America or in the Middle East. They died right here in America, in the American South. I knew these three young men. So, Madam Speaker, I urge all of my colleagues to vote for this resolution to pay tribute to these three young men and so many others who died in the struggle for voting rights in America. We must never forget their sacrifices, for their suffering, their pain, and their death. As members of the United States House of Representatives, it is our duty, our mission, our mandate to make sure these young men did not die in vain. Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I reserve the balance of my time.